Dun dun dun. Hey Internet, Skolo here. What I'm going to talk about today isn't my opinion, but rather my personal history. Because as you go through and as I continue vlogging, because I'm going to make it a standard thing, and my opinions come out, it'll help to have some understanding of where I'm coming from in the origin of some of these ideas, particularly considering my own self-made theology and whatnot. I was raised Episcopalian. Despite this, through most of my late elementary period, I went to a, what is it called? A modern non-denominational church on base. I'm an Air Force brat. Where I was the usher. And then in late middle to early high school, very early high school, I went to an Episcopalian church, which was where I was confirmed. I was very enthusiastically Christian. I was curious about the theology. I did my best to learn about it. Read your basics, Augustine and the like, and you would ask, got into philosophical and theological discussions with preachers when I was like 12. So this is an indicator, right? I was very enthusiastic about my faith, but I wouldn't say I certainly wasn't zealous. I found something, or I was raised in something which suited me, and with other people, they could believe whatever they want. Didn't mind, I didn't bother me one bit, because my parents were generally rather open-minded, as they raised me and exposed me to many different things. When, about the middle of high school to late high school, we went to a United Methodist church, which I still participated in that. It was, I was still enjoying myself. But I started getting into, I wouldn't say deeper, but more forceful theological arguments with both my peers and my preachers. The issue is that the bits of the Episcopalian church I was raised in were relatively liberal. They're the kinds with, you want gay preachers? Sure, whatever. Rather, very Catholic light. All the flavor, none of the guilt. When I went to the United Methodist Church, it's a bit more fundamental. Not fundamentalist. I don't believe they're still into biblical inerrancy, although I think some sects of it are. But my big thing is that a just God will not send good people to hell. And a succession of preachers in the UMC were very, very big on Jesus Christ is the way and the path and the light, and if you don't believe, doesn't matter what sort of a decent soul you are, you're boned. Which is something I just could not, I could fundamentally not accept. This sort of thing to me smacks of essentially nepotism. Because you're punishing people not for who they are, but rather what name they use for God, and that bugged me. During this time, one preacher who I was quite fond of, actually, he was a little too open-minded for the older crowd we went to church with. So they basically framed him by putting porn on the parish computer and blaming him for it. So they essentially ruined his career. And that about did it for me, because I did not want to be associated with such people. But still, I held on to my Christianity because it was important to me. And then I went to college. I went to St. Louis University, which is a Jesuit school. At that point, I was essentially a non-practicing Christian. But as I'm exposed more and more to what I guess you could consider your now conventional theology in America these days, I got more and more related to the fact that the God of Christianity does not like people who are not Christian. Now, he may love everybody, but if they don't accept Christ, they go to hell. That is Christian orthodoxy. And I finally came to the conclusion when I was about 19 that I could no longer self-identify as a Christian because I could not accept this basic, fundamental principle of the religion. Then started a period of what I would say, of soul searching, and what I would say is search for truth. And it was not an easy search. For a time, back in that period, I've always had sort of a depression issue. It was undiagnosed, essentially. And it was definitely hitting hard around that time, so for a period of 6 months to a year, I was essentially a dystheist. I believed in a god, which was evil, because that explained many, many, many things. Your problem of evil absolutely evaporates when the ultimate power of the universe is a complete total prick. That, while it may have answered a lot of things in terms of, okay, why are things the way they are? It's not exactly a healthy thing to believe. And so I dragged myself out of that and eventually started constructing my own faith. By doing this, the details to which are to be described later. The advantage to this is that it works for me, and I know it's partially syncretic and partially synthetic. I know that I have created it. I do not know if this God exists, because I made up most of these rules and most of these concepts. It's more like than not, it doesn't. But believing in them makes me feel better. And it doesn't modify, I can still look at the geologic record and go, okay, yeah, plate tectonics happened, evolution happened, abiogenesis happened, the Big Bang happened. And I don't have to worry about some sort of vengeful God coming down and smiting the unbelievers or smacking me on the nose for not doing the right thing, so on and so forth. So it works for me. It's synthetic, it's probably even false. And I don't really have a problem with that, because in terms of me relating to reality, like physical, materialistic, naturalistic reality, doesn't become an issue. But because of that period of dystheism, I am very careful around other people's faiths. Because I lost mine, I'm not trying to convert other people or make them lose theirs, because it was a very painful thing. If their faith makes them a better person, even if it's by faith it has to be irrational, I'm perfectly fine with that. If it makes them comfortable in their place in reality, and they can still address reality as it physically is, then I'm fine with that. If they try to enforce their view of reality on me, they have been, and have seen me strike back pretty hard. But if these people are comfortable with the way they are, and they're essentially being harmless, I'm okay with that. I'm definitely not in the new atheist camp where all irrational thoughts are bad. Again, another argument for another time. But for this reason, I can relate to the religious and the non-religious and the atheist alike, because I see where these people are coming from, and all people are essentially believing in what suits them best, or not believing in what suits them best, as the case may be, and I'm fine with that. Well, I'm probably not going to be posting quite as much over the next 2 weeks because my parents are visiting for Christmas, and I'll be spending time with them because they're more important than the internet. But if I get time, I'll post, and see you then.